Hi everyone, my name is Lucy. For today's recipe, I'm making a Spanish dish. This is called pork empanada and it's a two-crust Galician pie. This pie is filled with meat and sausages, so please join me in my kitchen to make this wonderful dish. First, let me give you the ingredients of the filling, which includes about 2 pounds of boneless diced pork, 3 or 4 chorizo sausages or any kind of spiced sausage. Also, I'm using some cured salted ham, 3 color peppers. I'm using yellow, orange, and red, 2 medium onions, 1 small can of diced tomatoes, 1 cup of dry white wine, chopped parsley, paprika, and saffron. Let me show you how the saffron looks like. It looks like little tiny hair. Garlic, salt and pepper, and olive oil. And for the crust, I'm going to be mixing equal amounts of cornmeal and all-purpose flour, warm water, rapid rice, dry yeast, salt, sugar, olive oil, and 2 eggs. This other egg is for the glaze. I'm going to start by making the pie filling first because it has to be cool off before we make the pie. So I'm going to fry the cured ham in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once the ham is fried, then I add the pork and do the same. I'm going to retire from the pan so I can cook the sausages. And once the sausages are cooked, I also retire from the pan so I can make the sofrito. I add just a little bit more oil so I can saute the onions. Once the onions are translucent, I add everything else. I'm going to add the peppers, the parsley, the paprika, mix all together, add the garlic, then I'm going to deglaze the pan with the white wine and I'm going to let it reduce for a little bit, 2 or 3 minutes. Then I add the tomatoes and the pinch of saffron. Then I add the meat and the sausages and I'm going to cover and reduce the heat to medium and I'm going to let it cook for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes I turn off the stove and I let it cool until I'm ready to make the pie. To make the dough, I mix the cornmeal with the all-purpose flour, the salt and the sugar, mix it well in the mixer, then I add the rapid rise dry yeast to the warm water and add it to the mix with the eggs and the olive oil. Mix everything until it's a soft dough. I transfer the dough to my working surface with additional flour and I'm going to knead until it's a soft ball. This process will not take long at all. I'm going to place it in a grease bowl and I'm going to cover and let it rise until it's double. Once it's double, then I turn over the working surface and I'm going to cut it in half. I I'm going to make my first half in a rectangle so I can cover the baking pan. I'm going to cover the bottom of the pan as much as possible, leaving the edges hanging on the edge. Then we can start filling the pan with the meat. While I'm doing this, my oven is preheating at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius. Now I'm going to stretch the other half of the dough so I can cover the pie. So I'm stretching it just big enough to cover the entire pan. I'm going to cover the top portion of the pan right on top of the meat. And then what I left hanging, I'm going to fold over the top. And I'm going to seal it with a fork. Then I beat the additional egg that I reserved, and I'm going to glaze the entire pie with a brush. This pie will go into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius for 30 to 35 minutes. The amount of ingredients for this recipe are below this video in the description area. After 35 minutes, my pie is ready, and I'm going to let it cool for about 10-15 minutes before I cut it. After 10 or 15 minutes of waiting, the pie is ready to be cut. This is a delicious and beautiful dish to serve. It's very different, and you can also make it into individual pies, just like pot pies. You can also use other fillings. I hope you like this recipe and you enjoy it. Buen provecho. If you like this video, don't forget to click like. Subscribe to my channel to see more recipes such as this one. I hope to see you soon. Until next time, bye bye.